When she never calls or texts you first, the first instinct you'll feel is confusion. You'll start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Did I say too much? Is she losing interest? That confusion turns into anxiety, and that anxiety turns into a chase. You start doing more, saying more, giving more, hoping she'll finally respond with the same energy. But here's the truth. Every time you chase someone who isn't reciprocating, you lower your own value in their eyes. It's not because you're not good enough. It's because people naturally value what's scarce, not what's constantly available. When she never reaches out first, it's not just about her communication, it's about the balance of energy. She's showing you where she stands without saying a word. Her silence asterisk is asterisk communication. The more you ignore that and keep reaching out, the more you start teaching her that she doesn't have to invest, because you'll always do it for her. You become predictable, easy, and safe. And in today's world, emotional safety is not what attracts people. First, mystery and self-control do. So stop chasing, stop texting first, stop trying to make her feel something through your words. Instead, start observing. Look at her patterns, not her promises. Is she genuinely busy or just not prioritizing you? Does she reply only when she's bored or when she needs validation? Does she ever ask about asterisk you asterisk, or is it always about her? The moment you start observing instead of chasing, you reclaim your emotional balance. You take the power back, because when you're chasing, she's in control. When you're observing, you are. Understand this deeply. Detachment is not about playing games. It's about clarity. You're not pulling back to manipulate her. You're pulling back to see things as they truly are. When you stop initiating contact, two things happen. Either she realizes your absence and reaches out, or she doesn't, and both outcomes are blessings. If she reaches out, you've just proven your worth wasn't in your words, it was in your silence. If she doesn't, you've saved yourself from wasting your time and emotions on someone who was never emotionally invested in you. The problem is, most men panic when they stop hearing from her. They think silence means rejection. But it's not rejection, it's revelation. It's showing you where you truly stand. And the faster you accept that truth, the faster you evolve. You grow from needing validation to embodying confidence. You stop chasing a person and start chasing your purpose. That shift in energy is what changes everything, because here's the secret. People always return to what feels valuable, not what feels desperate. The moment you step back, focus on yourself, and become busy building your life, she'll notice, not because you're trying to make her jealous, but because energy doesn't lie. When you stop seeking her attention, your energy becomes grounded, calm, magnetic. She'll start wondering why you're no longer chasing. She'll start checking your stories, noticing your silence, replaying the moments you were present, and that's when the shift happens. But remember, this only works when it's real. You can't fake detachment while secretly waiting for her text. You have to truly let go. You have to be okay with both outcomes, whether she comes back or not, because if she truly values you, she'll return. And if she doesn't, that silence becomes your protection, not your loss. So stop chasing, observe, protect your peace. The person who's meant for you will never need constant reminders to stay. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Your absence will speak the truth louder than any message ever could. When you stop initiating contact and shift your focus back to yourself, everything starts to change. Not because she suddenly becomes interested, but because you begin to see what was wrong all along. Your energy was flowing in the wrong direction. You are trying to make someone see your worth instead of standing firm in it. That's where the shift begins, when you stop chasing validation and start respecting yourself. You see, self-respect is not about arrogance or ego, it's about boundaries, it's about knowing the difference between effort and begging. When you constantly initiate, text, call, or try to hold her attention, you're unconsciously telling her that her approval matters more than your peace. You start operating from lack, from the belief that if you don't keep showing up, you'll lose her. But what you don't realize is that you're losing yourself in the process. When you pull back and give yourself that energy instead, you start rebuilding the very foundation that makes someone truly attractive, self-worth. You begin to remember who you are before the attachment, before the anxiety, before you thought her attention defined your value. You start waking up differently. You focus on your goals, your growth, your discipline, your peace. You replace overthinking with purpose. That's what changes everything, because people can feel when you've shifted. When your attention is no longer chasing them, they sense it. It creates a quiet confidence around you, a presence that doesn't need validation. You're not trying to prove you're worthy of love, you're embodying it. You don't need to announce that you're done chasing. Your silence, your focus, and your energy say it for you. And that's when she'll start to notice, not when you send another message trying to explain how much you care. Not when you post quotes about loyalty or effort. She'll notice when you stop making her the center of your world. When you no longer react, when you no longer wait by your phone, when your attention becomes rare again. Because rarity creates value. The moment she realizes your energy is no longer freely available, it hits her differently. She starts to see what she lost: the consistency, the care, the effort, all the things she took for granted. But here's the key: don't do it for her reaction. Do it because you owe yourself better. You owe yourself peace after constantly trying to earn someone's attention. You owe yourself the same energy you kept giving away. When you make that shift, you start living differently. You stop chasing love and start attracting it naturally, because the truth is, people are drawn to those who don't need them, but still choose them. That's strength, that's balance. When you put self-respect first, you change the narrative. You stop being the one waiting for the call or the text, and you become the one who decides what energy is allowed to stay in your life. You stop seeking closure and start giving it to yourself. You realize that your peace is worth more than temporary attention. You see that love without mutual effort is not love, it's imbalance. So if she never reaches out first, don't try harder. Respect yourself enough to let her miss your presence. Redirect that energy toward yourself, your goals, your growth. Because when you focus on becoming your best version, everything that's meant for you finds its way back. Not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of person who never has to. In the end, self-respect is the most magnetic energy you can carry. It's silent, it's powerful, and it commands value without asking for it. When you embody that, you no longer worry about who calls or texts first. You already know that anyone who truly values you will meet you halfway. Silence is one of the most misunderstood powers in relationships. People often think that silence means weakness, avoidance, or disinterest. But in reality, silence can be the loudest statement you ever make. When you stop chasing, stop over-explaining, and stop constantly initiating, your silence starts to speak for you. It sends a message stronger than any words ever could, that you are no longer available to be taken for granted. When you go quiet, you create space, and that space is where truth begins to show. Because when someone has gotten used to you always being there, always texting first, always checking in, always trying to keep things alive, they stop valuing your effort. It becomes normal to them. They start assuming you'll never leave, that no matter how little they give, you'll keep showing up. But the moment you go silent, that illusion breaks. They feel the difference. They start noticing your absence more than they ever noticed your presence. That's the power of silence. It's not punishment, it's awareness. You're no longer forcing someone to see your worth. You're giving them the opportunity to feel what life is like without your presence. And sometimes that quiet distance says everything they refused to hear before. But silence isn't just about making someone realize your value. It's also about finding your peace. When you stop explaining yourself to people who never listen, when you stop chasing validation from someone emotionally unavailable, you begin to reconnect with yourself. You realize that not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every misunderstanding needs to be fixed. Sometimes the best thing you can do is step back, stay calm, and let things reveal themselves naturally. Because here's what happens when you choose silence over chasing. People show their true colors. If someone genuinely cares, your silence will pull them closer. They'll reach out, check in, and try to reconnect. But if they don't, you get your answer without saying a word. That's what makes silence so powerful. It reveals truth without confrontation. And here's another truth: silence takes strength. It's easy to react. It's easy to text, to explain, to argue, to demand answers. But it takes emotional maturity to stay silent and composed. It takes confidence to trust that what's meant for you won't require you to chase it. Your silence becomes a reflection of your strength, a quiet declaration that says, "I value my peace more than your inconsistency." When you go quiet, the energy shifts. You stop feeding the dynamic that drained you. You stop giving constant reassurance to someone who gave you uncertainty. And in that stillness, you begin to rise again. Your focus returns to your goals, your peace, your purpose. You stop reacting from emotion and start acting from clarity. Eventually, she'll notice the difference. She'll scroll through her phone and wonder why you haven't texted. She'll replay old conversations, realizing how much effort you once gave. She'll feel the silence you left behind, but by then, you won't be waiting for her response. You'll be grounded in your peace. That's the beauty of silence. It's not about making her chase you. It's about reclaiming your energy, your power, and your dignity. So when she never calls or texts you first, and you choose silence, remember this: you're not losing her. You're finding yourself. You're not ignoring her. You're honoring your boundaries. You're not giving up. You're growing up. And the ones who truly care will always hear your silence louder than your words. Because silence, when it comes from strength, doesn't push people away. It filters out the ones who were never really there. Becoming the prize isn't about arrogance or playing games. It's about understanding your value so deeply that you no longer tolerate being treated like an option. When someone never reaches out first, it's easy to start believing that you're not important enough. You start wondering what you're doing wrong, why they don't miss you, or why you're always the one trying to keep things alive. But that mindset comes from forgetting who you are. You're not meant to beg for energy, attention, or love. You're meant to attract it by standing in your power. The moment you shift from chasing to becoming, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why don't they text me?" and start asking, "Why am I waiting for someone who doesn't?" That's when your healing begins, because when you become the prize, you stop settling for inconsistency. You stop giving people access to your time just because you're lonely. You stop proving your worth through effort and start showing it through presence. Your energy becomes grounded, calm, focused, unbothered. That's what makes you magnetic. People are drawn to what they can't easily have. When you constantly chase, text, or overgive, you remove the mystery that keeps attraction alive. But when you stand firm, prioritize yourself, and stay centered, you naturally command respect. You become someone they have to earn, not someone they can assume will always be there. That's not pride, that's alignment. You're aligning your energy with self-worth, and that energy speaks louder than any words ever could. When you see yourself as the prize, you begin to realize that your value isn't tied to who chooses you. It's tied to how you choose yourself every day. You focus on growth, purpose, discipline, the things that make you whole without needing someone's attention to feel complete. And here's what happens. When you start walking with that energy, people notice. The same person who used to ignore your messages starts watching your silence. The one who once acted distant starts wondering what changed. They sense it, that shift in your energy, that quiet confidence that says, I'm good either way. Being the prize means you no longer wait for validation. You become your own source of it. You stop measuring your worth by how much attention someone gives you. You measure it by how much peace you protect. You become the type of person who doesn't chase anyone, but attracts everyone because you're centered in yourself. That's when you truly become magnetic, not through chasing, not through playing hard to get, but through being at peace with who you are and what you bring. And here's the truth. When you treat yourself like the prize, you also start attracting people who see you that way. You'll notice how the wrong ones fall away and the right ones step up. The woman who once didn't value your presence might start realizing what she lost, but by then, you won't be waiting, you'll be growing. You'll understand that losing people who don't value you isn't a loss. It's redirection towards something better. So stop asking why she doesn't text first. Stop wondering what you did wrong. Start remembering what you bring to the table, your loyalty, your energy, your presence, your focus, your growth. Not everyone deserves access to that. When you carry yourself with self-respect, people treat you differently. You no longer need to demand love or attention. It naturally flows toward you. Becoming the prize isn't about making someone chase you. It's about rising so high in your value that only those who match your energy can reach you. It's about building yourself until your peace is unshakable, your energy undeniable, and your worth unquestionable. Because the truth is, when you finally realize your value, you'll stop being afraid of losing anyone, and that's exactly when no one can afford to lose you. There's one thing most people never realize until they've been hurt. You don't attract what you want . You attract what you are . When your energy is anxious, needy, or uncertain, you'll keep drawing in people who match that same instability. But when your energy is calm, confident, and centered, the people around you shift too. That's why the most powerful move you can make when she never calls or texts you first isn't to chase, complain, or question. It's to elevate your energy. Because the moment you become grounded and emotionally independent, the entire dynamic changes. See, attraction isn't built on words, it's built on presence. It's the quiet power you carry when you walk away from what doesn't value you. When you no longer seek attention, you start radiating something far stronger, selfish assurance. You begin to carry yourself like someone who knows they're enough. That confidence doesn't come from arrogance, it comes from peace, from knowing you don't need anyone to complete you. You are already complete. When you operate from that mindset, your energy speaks for you. You don't need to prove your worth, argue your place, or beg to be seen. Your silence becomes your boundary, your focus becomes your attraction, and your growth becomes your revenge. You stop reacting emotionally to someone's inconsistency because your mood no longer depends on their attention. You're building something bigger, a life, a purpose, a sense of self that can't be shaken by whether someone texts you or not. This is where the dynamic shifts. When you move like a person with purpose, your energy starts to feel different, and people feel it. They sense that you're no longer waiting, no longer chasing. They start wondering why. They begin to notice the change not because you're trying to get their attention, but because your absence becomes louder than your presence used to be. That's the power of becoming emotionally independent. You stop chasing love and you start attracting respect. The truth is, the version of you that constantly worries about why she doesn't text first is a version still trying to earn love. But the version of you that's calm, focused, and grounded doesn't chase what's not meant for him. He attracts what aligns with his peace. When you shift your energy towards self-improvement, when you start working out, learning, focusing on your goals, and keeping your emotions balanced, you rise in value without saying a word. You start moving differently. You walk with a calm confidence that says, I don't need attention, I am attention. That kind of energy is rare. And in a world full of people desperate for validation, rare becomes irresistible. That's when the tables turn. The same person who ignored your messages starts noticing your silence. The same woman who didn't text first begins to wonder what happened to your energy. But you won't be waiting for that anymore because by then you'll have found something better, yourself. You see, emotional independence doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop losing yourself in the process of caring. You can still love, still feel, still connect, but now you do it from a place of strength, not need. You're no longer looking for someone to fill the emptiness. You've already filled it with purpose and self-worth. That's what makes you unshakable. So stop worrying about who calls or texts first. Instead, focus on becoming the version of yourself that no longer needs to chase anyone. Be the man whose presence speaks louder than any message, whose silence carries weight, and whose energy demands respect. Because the truth is simple, once you become grounded, emotionally strong, and completely at peace with yourself, you stop needing to attract people. The right ones just show up. Most people think love is proven through constant effort, by always showing up, always reaching out, always keeping things alive no matter what. But real love, real connection, isn't about chasing. It's about alignment. You can't build something meaningful if only one person is trying. When she never calls or texts you first, it's not always a sign that she doesn't care, but it's definitely a sign that the balance is missing. And the truth is, you can't force balance into a relationship. You can only reflect it. That's why the smartest thing you can do isn't to try harder, it's to let things even out naturally. To let your energy match her energy, and to protect your peace in the process. When you keep giving more than you're receiving, something inside you starts to break. You feel drained, confused, and emotionally unstable. You start questioning your worth because you're not being met with the same energy you give. That's when you begin to lose your self-respect without even realizing it. You think you're being loyal, but you're actually teaching someone that your presence comes cheap, that they can give you the bare minimum and you'll still stay. But love isn't about who can tolerate the most neglect. It's about mutual effort, mutual energy, and mutual respect. When you finally decide to pull back and give what you get, something incredible happens. You start feeling lighter. You stop waiting for texts that never come. You stop checking your phone hoping for a notification. You start redirecting all that mental energy back toward yourself. And slowly, you begin to heal. You realize that peace feels better than attention. You realize that being alone feels better than being half loved. You realize that you don't have to beg for what's meant for you. And here's the irony: when you stop chasing, that's when people start noticing you. When you go quiet, when you stop trying, when you finally choose yourself, they start to feel your absence. Because now there's space for them to miss you. They start thinking about how much effort you once gave. They start remembering the consistency you offered and the loyalty you carried so effortlessly. Your stillness creates the reflection they couldn't see before. But by the time they realize it, you're no longer waiting, you've evolved. You've learned that love should never require you to abandon yourself. Becoming someone who values balance means you stop romanticizing one-sided effort. You stop believing that love will change someone who isn't ready to grow. You accept that energy is communication. If she doesn't reach out, if she doesn't initiate, that asterisk is asterisk her answer. And instead of fighting it, you flow with it, you mirror it, you let it teach you how to move, because the moment you start matching energy, the right people will start matching yours. That's the beauty of emotional balance. You stop chasing extremes and start finding peace. You don't need constant attention, you need consistency. You don't crave loud love, you crave real love. And real love doesn't make you anxious. It doesn't make you question your worth. It meets you halfway, so if she never calls or texts you first, take it as a sign, not